fall 2012 was when we debuted the new version of the course. And I have 3 different ways students can take my course. They can go to the traditional lecture. We call it traditional supplemental now because I've added in some extra pieces. And I have about 350 or more students total doing it that way. Fully online, 80 students, and the hybrid, I had about 60 students. And here's how the course is set up. All 3 versions of the course are closely coordinated. They all have the same exams. They all have the same homework. They all have the same fixable discussion assignment, which I'll talk about more. They're getting the same lectures, more or less. It's just a matter of where they get them. Do they watch them at home, or do they come to class and watch me talk through them live? We use online homework. So the traditional students are still getting 2 days a week of lecture with me, and they still see their TAs 1 day a week, but we've changed how those recitations work. The online students do everything except for the exams online. They still come in and take their test with us. In the hybrid class, they get their lectures online, but then they see me once a week on, right now they're seeing me on Thursday. And then we have group work, we have hands-on activities, we have discussions. And let's see, so all the rest of the quizzes. The online students, I don't give quizzes because I feel like for the online students, it takes them longer to learn things anyway just because of the format, and they've already got the homework. We have other ways of interacting too, so that's the one part I don't really do for them. And each group has a way of getting class participation points. All right, so after the redesign, the Monday recitations are no longer a class full of zombies with the TA trying to talk through 2 hours worth of material in just half an hour. Now I have the TA talking no more than 10 minutes, preferably just 5 at the beginning, summarizing the high points in the week before. And then we spend 20 to 25 minutes with the students working in groups on worksheets about those topics, and then 5 to 10 minutes of going over any answers the students weren't sure about, or the TA picking up points that he or she noticed that were troublesome. And then the last 10 minutes are a quiz over that same material. So the TAs are doing much less talking. The students are doing much more than talking. The students are active, they're busy, and it's much more effective. And it's so much more fun to go and watch those recitations now and hear the students explaining these concepts to each other. Okay, in the fall of 2012, this was how the hybrid class was set up. Monday night they had homework due because that's when the traditional class had their homework due. But my intention was not for them to wait until Monday night to do the homework. I thought that they would do it earlier in the week. Of course, that's wrong. They're going to wait to the day that it's due. And I was given Tuesday as my class day for hybrid, which I didn't know was going to be a problem at the time. But we would have a quiz at the beginning of class going over the previous week's material, which is what the last night's homework was over. And then we'd go over the quiz answers to make sure they really did understand it. And then I'd spend 5 or 10 minutes reviewing the new material, and then we'd work for 45 minutes on the current week's material, not what they'd just been quizzed over, but the next week's material. But what I realized is, as the semester went on, fewer and fewer of them were listening to the lectures ahead of time, because all they cared about was that quiz at the beginning. They didn't care about what would happen later. They could have done their homework early, so they could have listened to the lectures early, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So the worst thing about my hybrid section last fall was the Tuesday date. That made everything just not work the way I wanted it to work. Okay, so these were some of the strategies I used in the hybrid class. We had worksheets. We would post problems on the screen for work on those loose whiteboards at the table, and people could hold up their answers. We did hands-on activities. We would collect data from fellow students. They'd go around and they'd have a little sign on their back with a question, and they wouldn't know what their question was, and they would have to write down the answers and have to guess what their question was. But then we would analyze that data. Okay, so what worked well? It did work really well to have the students in groups, and the students really like to pick their own groups. They made that clear. I asked them at the end, would you rather have me, assign people to groups? And they said no. They felt really comfortable where they were. They didn't want to have to go through chit-chat of getting to know you at the beginning of each class. They liked their group. They liked collecting data from their classmates. They liked the hands-on activities. They liked that they were earning class participation points for working in class. They liked the online lectures. I gave them extra credit on the homework, which they liked. And the order of topics worked out really well, even with that totally math-heavy exam, 2 in the middle, which could have been a disaster. Their average was close to 90 on that. These are math anxiety students who hate math. They're liberal arts students. They scored almost a 90 in an entirely math exam. They did great. So it seemed to work better with having all those concepts together. They buckled down. They learned it right then. They knew that the course would get better once they got past those few weeks, and they would come to office hours. It worked pretty well. Okay, so here are the things that we learned needed to change. The day of the week, we couldn't do Tuesdays anymore. Tuesdays just did not work for us. We need to give a quiz at the end, not at the beginning of class, because all they care about is that quiz if you give it at the beginning, and they don't care what happens afterwards. The quiz needs to be over the current week's material, not over past week's material. The students really liked it when I would give them a handout instead of just posting questions on the screen, because they wanted to be able to leave with their work and leave with the stories. They said that when they had to do work from a screen and then just put it on their whiteboard, they said they felt so sad having to erase their work because it wasn't there anymore. To me, I just thought, you copied down on paper too, but they didn't think of that. They just didn't like erasing all their hard work. So we do handouts now. That makes them happy. The students not coming prepared with the new material was an issue. And students chatting instead of working was an issue. But that was an issue because they hadn't listened to the lecture, so what else were they going to talk about during class? They didn't know what we were doing. So those were all things we needed to change. So this semester is so much better. They gave me a Thursday day for class, and I've moved the homework due date for everybody, all the sections, to Friday night instead. So that makes the traditional students come more prepared to recitation because they will have had to do their homework before they go to recitation. My students in the hybrid class have usually done at least one attempt. We get 2 attempts on the online homework. They've usually done at least one before they come to my class to help them get ready. And so they have Saturday through Wednesday to watch the lectures now. And then on Thursday, we spend 5 minutes going over the old quiz, 5 to 10 minutes of me just giving a brief review, and then 45 minutes of them working, and then at the end is our 15-minute quiz. So much better, so much better. The energy in the classroom is totally different than it was last semester. Just moving it from Tuesday to Thursday, that's all it took. But somehow in their brains, that made a huge cultural shift in our classroom. Okay, so here's some of the things that we did. We had Mitch Daniels come, and he rolled pig dice with my students when we were doing probability. He helped them calculate probabilities. That was a good class. They work on groups. So here they're doing normal distribution. So they've got their worksheets, they've got their normal tables, everybody has their calculators out. They're all talking, they're helping each other. They're constantly talking. It's a noisy class, but it's good talk. And they really are helping each other and fixing each other's mistakes. And I've started having them, I used to have the whiteboards at the table where they would write down their best answer for the table. But just lately, I've had them move to the boards, the whiteboards that are on the walls. And before class starts, I'll go around with a little Post-it note and say, your table 1, you're going to put up 2A. You're going to put up 3B. So they know which problem they're going to be responsible for. And in addition to putting their problem up, they're also responsible, their table has to go around and grade all the problems that are on the board. So I don't know if you can see this, but table 1 gave it a check mark. Table 8 said yes, but you need a probability statement and say if it's forward or backward. Table 8 says yeah, and table 6 says agree, super. They get more creative with their comments as the day goes on. Most tables will just send out one representative to put the group's answer. This group of students here, they always go up as a group. They go up as a group and they argue in Chinese, and they're loud. And I have no idea what they're saying, but they make lots of changes to the board when they're up there, and they always end up with the right answer, so they must be arguing about probability. But they're really comfortable. I don't think they would speak up as much if I had assigned them a group and they were with people they didn't know. So it's really loud arguing, but they get it worked out. And they score well on the quizzes too, so that works for them. Okay, and this is our mixable assignment. This is what we do for statistical literacy, tying all the concepts together at the end. It looks just like basic. I've blocked out people's names, but you can see I let them put pictures of themselves. They can put pictures of something that represents them. I have no idea who that is, but he wanted that for his picture. They have to post. I have 18 different topics. I'll show you what they are in a minute that they can choose from. And they need to find some example of it online, whether it's a video or a cartoon or a song or an article, but they need to post the link to whatever it is, and then I have questions for each topic that they have to answer. So for a pie chart, was this an appropriate choice for this information? Meaning, was it a categorical variable? Did the percentile add up to 100? And then they're required, so they have to make 5 posts on 5 out of the 18 topics. And then they also are required to make 5 statistically intelligent comments on their peers' articles as well. So if you just get on and say, oh, I like monkeys too, that's not going to get you your point. Somebody tried that. That does not get you your point for making an intelligent comment. But this guy here, he did a really good job of pointing out some things that needed to be discussed further. Sometimes we'll prompt them a little bit, like if somebody posted an article that had a good pie chart on it, but it was an article from an experiment, my comment might be, would somebody else like to comment on whether the 3 principles of good experimental design were used here? And then somebody else will have some more things to talk about. Okay, so I encourage the students to look all semester, and a few students start working on it at the beginning. Most students wait till about the week they do before they start working. But it's really fun, and the discussions can get heated. A lot of people make way more than what I ask them to do, both for the post and for the comments, because they get excited about it. And one student called it a treasure hunt, statistics treasure hunt, which I really liked. Most students end up liking it. They say it's not as bad as they thought it was going to be, and their eyes have been opened that they really do see statistics every day. They just haven't been paying attention before, and that's the whole goal of what I'm trying to do. I just want them to see that statistics is used. This is not a wasted class. It is something that they will use in their daily lives. And it also lets me learn about their interest and misconceptions. A lot of my lecture examples or exam examples I've taken from the mixable assignment. I see articles that were interesting to them that got good discussion going, and then I use that in a later semester. Okay, so these are all the topics that they can post to. And in the assignment itself, like for humor, I would have specific things that they would have to talk about the humor, like what statistical topic are they talking about in humor, what makes it funny, is it an accurate use of that topic or not accurate? That takes a little bit of fun on talking about humor, but still, I want them to see the concept behind it. Pie chart probably gets the most posts. That's the easiest one to find. But we get really good discussions going. And if you're interested in mixable, Kevin O'Shea is the one that you want to talk to. He can help you get set up.